All right, so hopefully you just finished the Gmail tutorial and you are moving on with me to explore a little bit of Drive. So I have my tabs pinned up here. I've pinned my Gmail one, and now I am on my Drive one. That's something I open up all day. And it's so great starting fresh at a new organization because you are starting with an organized mindset. So I always think of it like a new closet, of putting all my clothes in and getting them organized the way I want to and keeping it that way. So let's take a look at the Drive. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with My Drive, which is just your files. Whenever you make something or upload something, it goes into your Drive. And from there, you can make a new Google Doc, a sheet, slide. I know you're all Google certified one, so I'm not going to go into that as much. However, last year we had that update of having priority, which I did not get into until maybe mid-year, which I actually really like this workspaces, especially because we use team drives. And so what team drives do is they organize documents for a system. ASB is an organization, a system. And so our files have to live in certain team drives, but it might not be exactly what you want them organized. So for example, I have one called like ES, Current Tech Projects. And I have this workspace where I link different documents that I'm working with at the time into, it looks like or feels like a folder, but I'm actually not moving people's documents into my organizational system. I'm just putting some quick links of documents that I want to work with. All right, I lead a tech collaborative, and these files all live in different folders of different team drives, but I want them all in one space for me, so I use workspaces for that. Now, let's think about your job and your role and what folders you might want to have. And when I say folders, I'm really meaning workspaces now. You're going to have documents in, let's say, a high school teaching or middle school teaching team drive where you actually can't control as much of how you want them organized for you. But let's say that your role as librarian makes you use these documents often. You could make a workspace for that. Or your role as counselor requires you to access different documents often that might live in different folders. You might make a workspace for that. So after this, I do want you to think about workspaces, even though you probably don't have any documents for that at the moment. You could create one called HR Documents. And because Anna sent you many things and you don't even know where they maybe are living at the time, you could actually make a workspace and add some of those common things, documents to a workspace. All right. That's just my little plug on workspaces. So think about exploring that more. However, today the meat and potatoes of this tutorial is about shared drives. So I'm going to click on shared drives, and you're going to notice I have a lot of shared drives, maybe more than you, because I'm part of almost all of our shared drives, so that I can actually talk about and walk people through these. There are some common shared drives that everybody at school are part of. And what a shared drive is really guaranteeing that all ASB documents stay at ASB beyond the time that someone that created that document works there. For example, let's say Anna Markadal, who's doing all of our HR, has created a ton of great documents. However, if she leaves our organization, her email gets cut down, is deactivated, and soon we don't know where the documents that she created live. Or, which happens more often, is that we don't have access to edit them, or we don't have access to give the new people access to edit them. So shared drives cuts down on this. So all school photos is one of the shared drives that everybody has access to. Within there, we add photos basically of the whole school year. So here in 2019-20, you'll be able to see all of the photos that we're taking in different divisions, as well as our photo day. So it's really great to actually go in there, and if you need to ever get your photo day photo, you'll be able to grab that, or our students. But if you want a field trip, let's say in elementary, you'd add it to the elementary photos. If you've worked at a school where they have a yearbook and you have to like curate all these photos for them, which can be time consuming, if you add your photos here throughout the year, the yearbook just goes ahead and grabs them. So that's a really important shared drive, is this all school photos. All staff documents is also something that everyone has access to. And this includes all of our handbooks and ASB logos, ASB header paper. So if you have to write a student recommendation, and then some of those HR documents, employment and living in Barcelona, events, handbooks, calendars, scheduling. So those are all staff documents. So you have access to view those documents, but not to edit them. Then we also have departments. And so if you are part of the library, it's part of a department. And you also, everybody has department PLCs. Okay. What department PLCs stands for is professional learning communities. So we do run professional learning communities at ASB, and we run them within our SAT. So in the department PLCs, you will find all of the school's grade levels PLC teams. And so in here might include your agendas that you talk about. Maybe you're collecting data, the data would live in here. Maybe you've made presentations of what you've learned and studied about together, or even created curricular resources. That goes in department PLC. Your subject area leader kind of helps navigate you to those different documents within these, and you'll see that the agendas also live there. So department PLCs is something that you have access to and that you could start exploring. There is also department teaching and learning. So a lot of the teaching and learning documents that we share with you, NewStaff orientation, all staff work days, any trainings or professional development resources, they live in department TL, which stands for teaching and learning. And then you get into your divisions. These are going to be the most common places that you go. If you work in elementary, you have access to division ES, official documents, and ES teaching. If you work in the high school, you have access to high school official documents, high school teaching. Same thing with middle school. You have middle school official documents and middle school teaching. So every division has an official documents and a teaching drive. What does that mean? That means that in the official documents, you will find things like schedules, duties, field trip forms, things that you need access to, but you don't need to edit. And your division leader, whether that's Anne, Maggie, Jeremy, or Christina, they are the ones who edit that. Another thing that is useful in here is being able to look at the old reports and progress reports. So you can see in the official document, you could go into reports and you could look at any old report card that you needed to. We keep them all there. So that's something that's very useful in the official documents as well. So that is something that you have view-only access to, but your main area could be department PLC, or it could be division teaching. So for example, if I go into division teaching and you are making any curricular resources for class, you should make them in your division ES teaching. I cannot stress that enough. That means that if you make a worksheet, if you make a test, if you make a PowerPoint, you should organize it into where it belongs. So let's say I'm a second grade teacher that is making something. I would navigate to division ES teaching. I would go to second grade. I'd probably open the subject or unit, however you and your team are organizing it. And that is where I would start making something. So let's say I'm making something for math. All right. So grade 2, I'm going to make something for math. I would go into that drive and then click new Google Doc. So I'm making something for math. I'm in ES teaching, grade 2 math. Then I'm going to make a new Google Doc. And since I'm in the folder already, when I click make new, it's automatically organized. Okay. A lot of people just want to go into their drive, say new doc, and then they organize it later. That actually doesn't save you time. That will make for more work later. So if you go to the place where it actually should live before you make the document, test, delete later. I'm going to just say that so that you can see that it will show up in the drive. So if I refresh, I should be able to see this test delete later document now into the grade 2 math folder. So the biggest thing I can say is go to your division, your teaching folder, and make the documents there that you need so that you don't have to organize later. All right. Since we're all on teams, we all share these documents. All right. So navigate to the shared drive where you're teaching and then work from there. Okay. Let's go back to the shared drives and check those out. Sorry, my computer's lagging just a bit in this. Just thinking that when you go for your homework after this is to make sure you have the all school photos, all staff documents, department PLC, department TL, and then your 2 division team drives. Okay? Unless you're also part of the library, you'd have that one as well. So when you look at your shared drives, make sure you're part of all the ones that you need to include. If you're part of middle school but you don't see the team drives, please give an email to tech support at asbarcelona.com and ask what team drive you need to be part of. The tech department actually organizes and gives permissions to these drives. I just teach about how we use them. All right. So that is our drives. And I can't stress enough that when you do make documents for ASB, do make it inside of the correct team drive. That will save you time later, not having to move over your My Drive documents. It also saves time because if you make it in the proper drive, then people have the proper access to the document. All right. So making it and then moving it is not as efficient as when you make something, what department does it go in? For example, all the work I'm making right now goes into Department TL because that's where all of our professional development lives. If I'm making a curricular document for middle school, it goes into MS Teaching. So that is the main takeaway for this. Go off and either explore workspaces and or look at the shared drives you're in and look at some of the curriculum documents that you have already there for you. Thanks for listening to this tutorial.